The derelict ship had been drifting for at least 3 standard weeks when Marcus Webb's salvage vessel finally caught up with it. His scanners had detected the hulk at the edge of the Kepler drift, a region of space where failed colonies and abandoned stations went to die slowly in the endless dark. Origin Velrani, his ship's computer announced. Design approximately 4 to 6 centuries old. No active power signature, no distress beacon, no life signs detected. Marcus maneuvered closer, studying the vessel through his viewscreen. It was beautiful in the way old things sometimes were, elegant lines that modern Velrani ships had lost in favor of aggressive efficiency. This ship had been built when aesthetics mattered as much as function. Ownership records, Marcus asked. No registration found, no identification markers. Ship does not exist in any known database. A ghost ship. Marcus had found a dozen over his years as an independent salvager, but never one this intact. Usually, ships were gutting hulks or radiation-scorched wrecks. This one looked like it had simply stopped, powered down, and drifted into the void. Boarding protocol initiated, Marcus said, suiting up. Document everything. If this ship is as old as you think, the historical value alone will be significant. He crossed from his vessel to the derelict using a magnetic tether, touching down on its hull with practiced ease. The airlock responded to manual override, good sign. The interior would have atmosphere, even if it was stale. Inside, emergency lighting flickered on, responding to his presence with automatic systems that had somehow survived centuries. The corridors were empty but pristine, as if the crew had simply walked away moments ago rather than centuries past. Marcus moved through the ship methodically, documenting everything. Crew quarters perfectly preserved, navigation systems dormant but intact, cargo holds empty, and at the ship's core, something his scanners hadn't detected from outside. A sealed chamber protected by technology far more advanced than anything else on the vessel. The door was covered in Velrani script that Marcus's translator struggled to process. Ancient dialect, ceremonial rather than standard. He could make out fragments, sealed by council decree, forbidden, never to wake. Well, that's ominous, Marcus muttered, examining the door's locking mechanism. It wasn't just sealed, it was protected by layered security that would have prevented anyone from opening it accidentally. Marcus should have left it alone, should have reported the find to Velrani authorities and let them handle their own historical mysteries. But curiosity was why he'd become a salvager in the first place, and this chamber called to him with the promise of answers. He worked carefully, using tools and techniques he'd learned over years of opening things that weren't meant to be opened. The security was sophisticated but designed for Velrani physiology. It didn't account for human ingenuity and stubbornness. When the final seal released, the door opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Marcus stepped into a chamber that was part throne room, part prison cell, part stasis pod. In the center stood a containment field, and within it, a Velrani woman in suspended animation. Her long ears were decorated with intricate metalwork that Marcus's database identified immediately. Royal insignia. Not just any royal, a queen by the complexity of the markings. She was stunning, even in stasis. Her features sharp and elegant, her bearing regal even in sleep. The stasis field surrounded her like crystallized light, preserving her perfectly across centuries. Marcus moved closer to examine the stasis controls, trying to understand the chamber's purpose. Was this a tomb? A memorial? His hand brushed the control panel and something activated. The stasis field flickered. Alarms that Marcus hadn't known existed shrieked through the dead ship, and the woman's eyes opened. The field dissolved and she collapsed. Marcus caught her instinctively, his suit's enhanced strength supporting her weight as she struggled to process consciousness after centuries of nothing. "Easy," Marcus said, his translator converting his words to Velrani standard. "You're safe. You're on your ship in deep space. I'm not going to hurt you." She pulled away from him with surprising strength, backing against the far wall with the defensive posture of someone expecting attack. When she spoke, her voice was rough from disuse but carried absolute authority. "Who are you? What is your purpose here?" "I'm Marcus Webb, independent salvager. I found your ship drifting and came aboard to investigate." "I didn't mean to wake you. I was trying to scan the chamber and accidentally triggered something." She studied him with eyes that seemed to see more than they should. "Human. You are human." "Yes. And you're Velrani royalty, unless I'm misreading those markings." "I am Queen Lyra, last of the 7th dynasty." She said it like a challenge, like she expected him to react with recognition or fear. When he just looked confused, something in her posture shifted. "You don't know who I am, should I? If the histories were honest, yes, but I suspect they are not." She moved through the chamber, examining it with the focus of someone confirming what they already suspected. "How long has it been since this ship was sealed?" Marcus checked his scanner. "Based on the vessel's design and material degradation, I'd estimate 4 to 6 centuries. 600 years. Her voice was flat. "They kept me sealed for 600 years. "Who did?" Lyra turned to face him, and Marcus saw something in her expression that looked like ancient grief. "My own High Council, the very people who were supposed to serve me. They feared my power, feared what I could do, what I represented. Rather than allow me to rule, they declared me too dangerous and sealed me in stasis. They launched this ship into deep space to drift forever, erasing me from history." "What power? What did you do that made them fear you?" "I was born different from other Velrani. I possess abilities that my people consider either gift or curse, depending on perspective. I can influence minds, sense truth, command loyalty with my presence. I was meant to unite my people, to lead them to greatness. Instead, I terrified those who valued their own power more than progress." Marcus should have been scared. Should have backed away from this woman claiming mind control abilities. Instead, he found himself skeptical. That's a convenient story for someone who might be a criminal or exile trying to manipulate a lone salvager. Lyra's expression shifted to something that might have been respect. "You're right to doubt. Words are easy. Truth requires proof." She extended her hand. "Touch me. I'll show you what I cannot tell you." "Show me how." "My abilities allow me to share memories, to project truth that words cannot convey. You'll see what happened. Judge for yourself if I'm lying." Marcus hesitated, but he'd already opened her prison and woken her from stasis. Might as well commit to the chaos. He took her hand. The moment their hands touched, Marcus's perception shifted. He wasn't in the chamber anymore. He was standing in a throne room of impossible beauty, surrounded by Velrani nobles in elaborate dress. And he was seeing through Lyra's eyes, feeling her emotions, experiencing her memories. "The council has reached its decision," a noble said, his voice carrying false regret. "Queen Lyra, your abilities are unprecedented and dangerous. For the safety of the realm, you will be placed in protective custody." Marcus felt Lyra's response, not anger but devastating sadness. She'd known this was coming, had sensed their fear and calculation for months. "Protective custody," she said calmly. "An elegant phrase for imprisonment. Say what you mean, council. You fear what I can do, so you'll remove me from power. You could force our loyalty, could make us worship you, could bend our entire civilization to your will. That power cannot be allowed. I have never used my abilities to force anything. I have only ever led through inspiration and truth, but you're right that I could. That possibility terrifies you enough to betray your queen." The memory shifted, guards surrounding her, a ship prepared, the stasis chamber waiting. And through it all, Lyra's steady acceptance that those she'd tried to lead had chosen fear over faith. Marcus pulled his hand away, gasping. The vision faded, leaving him back in the present in the chamber with Lyra watching him with ancient eyes. "I didn't force you to see that," she said quietly. "I offered. You chose to look. That's the difference. I give choice. I never take it away." Marcus's hands were shaking. "That was real, your memory, your experience. I felt what you felt." "Yes, now you know the truth." I was dangerous only because I had the power to change things, and those in power preferred stability to growth. She moved to the chamber's entrance, looking out at the dead ship. 600 years. They wanted me forgotten completely. Marcus should have been thinking about salvage value, about the incredible historical find, about how to handle this situation properly. Instead, he was thinking about a woman imprisoned for 6 centuries because she'd scared people who valued their own authority over her potential. "What will you do now?" he asked. "Survive, understand what has become of my people, decide if anything I once cared about still matters." She turned back to him. "And you? What will the human salvager do with the imprisoned queen?" Marcus looked at the stasis chamber, at its controls, at the very clear "release prisoner" command in ancient Velrani script that he'd somehow learned to read after touching Lyra's memories. He could leave her here. Report the ship to Velrani authorities, let them handle their own history. It would be safer, simpler, completely reasonable. Instead, he walked to the control panel and entered the release sequence. "What are you doing?" Lyra asked, her voice sharp. "Officially freeing you. If you were unjustly imprisoned, you deserve actual freedom, not just waking up." Marcus completed the sequence. "There. According to this, you're no longer a prisoner. The ship's entire system lit up. Power that shouldn't have existed in a centuries-old derelict surged through every circuit. And symbols appeared, glowing Velrani script covering the chamber walls, the corridor beyond, spreading like wildfire through the dead vessel. Lyra's expression shifted from surprise to shock to something like awe. "What did I do?" Marcus asked, suddenly worried he'd broken something fundamental. "You invoked the right of severance." Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "An ancient law that predates my dynasty, predates recorded Velrani history. By freeing a royal from unjust imprisonment, you've marked yourself as my sentinel, my chosen protector. The bond is recognized by Velrani law at its deepest level. I didn't choose to be anyone's protector, I was just trying to free you. Choice is not required. The right recognizes action, not intention. You freed me." The law responded. She held up her hand and Marcus saw symbols glowing beneath her skin, the same symbols now covering the ship. "Look at your hand." Marcus did. Under his suit, barely visible through the material, his own hand bore matching symbols. "We're bound now," Lyra said, her voice mixing wonder and resignation. "Your life to my protection, my survival to your loyalty. It's not metaphorical. The bond is real, written into Velrani genetic memory. Every member of my species will recognize it, will know you are my sentinel. Can it be broken? Only by death, mine or yours." She moved closer, studying him with new intensity. "Marcus Webb, you freed me not knowing what it would mean. That courage or foolishness has bound us together. I'm sorry. I never would have asked this of you." "Well, too late now." Marcus tried to process this. "What does being your sentinel actually mean? Practically, it means you're sworn to protect me. It means I cannot ask you to betray your own values or safety, but I can request your aid and you'll feel compelled to provide it. It means," she paused, "it means we're going to have company very soon. The ship's awakening will have been detected by any Velrani vessels within scanning range. And when they realize what you've done, they'll come to finish what the Council started 6 centuries ago. To imprison you again. To kill me. I'm no longer just dangerous possibility. I'm active threat returned from the past. They'll eliminate me before I can challenge their narrative." Marcus's ship AI chose that moment to interrupt. "Warning. Multiple Velrani military vessels emerging from FTL in proximity. Estimated time to engagement, 17 minutes. Lyra met Marcus's eyes. "Your choice, Sentinel. Will you help me escape or will you let history erase me again?" Marcus had made one impulsive decision today already. Might as well commit to the chaos. "My ship is docked on your hull. We run, we hide, and we figure out what's next, together." Lyra's smile was fierce and grateful. "Then we should run quickly." As they raced through the dead ship toward Marcus's vessel, he felt the bond she described, not forcing him, just present. A certainty that her survival mattered, that protecting her was right even if it was dangerous. He'd freed an imprisoned queen and accidentally become her sentinel. His life had just become significantly more complicated. Marcus's ship, the salvage writes, was built for speed and stealth rather than combat. Within minutes of undocking from Lyra's vessel, they were running dark through the Kepler drift, trying to stay ahead of pursuing Velrani military ships that had clearly been prepared for this. They knew, Lyra said from the co-pilot seat, studying the tactical display. They've been monitoring my prison ship, waiting for any sign of activity. Your salvage operation triggered alerts the moment you boarded. So they were just waiting to kill anyone who found you. Simpler to eliminate witnesses than explain why they've been guarding a ship that officially doesn't exist. She manipulated the controls with surprising familiarity. These ships, they're using formation patterns from my era. Whoever leads them learned from ancient military doctrine. Smart. Can you predict their tactics? I wrote many of those tactics. Lyra's fingers flew over the display. They'll try to box us in, force us toward the drift's core where navigation is dangerous. We need to break their formation before they complete the encirclement. Marcus pulled up his ship's stealth protocols. I can mask our ion signature for about 30 minutes. After that, they'll track us easily. 30 minutes is enough, there. She pointed at the tactical display. That gap in their formation, it's deliberate. They want us to run through it. It's a trap. What if we take it anyway, knowing it's a trap? Lyra turned to look at him, and Marcus saw the tactical brilliance that had made her a queen. They'll expect us to avoid the obvious trap, which means they've planned for evasion routes. But if we charge through the trap while they're preparing for cleverness, yes, that might work. It's insane, but it might work. My specialty is insane, Marcus said, adjusting course. Hold on. They accelerated directly toward the gap in the Velrani formation. Marcus felt the ship shudder as weapons fire grazed their shields, but he maintained course with the kind of reckless confidence that had kept him alive through a dozen close calls. They're compensating, Lyra called, watching the enemy ships adjust. 30 seconds until they close the gap. Then we have 30 seconds. Marcus diverted all auxiliary power to engines and drove straight through the closing trap with maybe 2 meters of clearance on either side. They cleared the formation. The Velrani ship scrambled to pursue, but Marcus had already activated the stealth protocols. Within seconds, they were running silent through the debris-heavy core of the drift, using the sensor interference to hide. That was brilliant, Lyra said, her voice carrying genuine admiration. That was lucky. There's a difference. Marcus monitored their position. We have maybe 6 hours before they locate us again. Then we'll need a real plan. You're good at this. Improvisation, tactical thinking, for a salvager. I was military before I was a salvager, combat pilot. Did 3 tours before I decided I preferred finding valuable junk to shooting at people. Then you understand warfare. Good. That will make this easier. Lyra pulled up star charts. We need to reach neutral territory, somewhere the Velrani military won't follow or can't justify pursuing us. That means crossing 5 sectors of space while being hunted by people who really want us dead, Marcus finished. Yeah, I'm seeing the problem. They work together through the night cycle, planning routes and fallback positions. Marcus learned that Lyra understood military strategy at a level that made his combat training look elementary. She learned that Marcus had an instinct for improvisation that bordered on precognitive. He could see solutions that weren't in any tactical manual. Your people would have valued you, Lyra said at one point. In my time, humans were barely spacefaring. Now you fly ships that would have amazed my generation and think tactically at levels that rival our best commanders. Your people tried to kill me 3 hours ago, not feeling super valued. The current government fears what I represent, but my people, the Velrani themselves, they're not all council loyalists. Some would remember the old ways, would question why their queen was hidden rather than honored. She paused. If I could speak to them, if I could tell my truth, some would listen. That's a big risk. Broadcasting your location to the entire Velrani network. Yes, but hiding forever isn't living, it's just slower dying. The Velrani found them again at 400 hours. The salvage rights took fire that damaged the port engine and compromised life support. Marcus managed evasive maneuvers, but they were limping now, barely staying ahead of pursuit. During the chaos, a close-range explosion threw Marcus against the bulkhead. He felt ribs crack, felt something tear internally. Lyra was beside him immediately, her hands on his injuries, and Marcus felt something impossible, the pain receding, the damage healing, power flowing from her through the Sentinel bond. "What are you doing?" he gasped. "Using abilities I haven't accessed in centuries. The bond between us amplifies my power. I can heal, strengthen, protect, but it drains me." Her voice was strained. "Worth it, you're my sentinel. Your survival matters." The healing completed, and Marcus was left feeling whole but aware that Lyra was exhausted from the effort. She'd saved his life at cost to herself. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Thank me by getting us out of here." Marcus returned to the controls with renewed focus. They had to end this chase, had to find a way to stop running and start fighting back. "Your idea about broadcasting to your people," he said. "What if we did it? Told them everything. Your imprisonment, your return, the Council's attempts to silence you. Let the Velrani decide if you're worth protecting. It would expose our location completely. They'd throw everything at us. We're going to die anyway if we keep running. At least this way we go down fighting for something that matters." Lyra studied him, and Marcus saw the queen she'd been: fierce, determined, unafraid of calculated risk. "You're right. Set up the broadcast. I'll prepare what I want to say. And I'll prepare every defensive measure this ship has. If we're going to die, we'll make it expensive for them." Lyra's hand found his, and Marcus felt the Sentinel bond pulse with shared purpose. "For what it's worth, Marcus Webb, I'm glad you freed me, even if it gets us both killed. We're not dead yet, and I'm stubborn enough to keep it that way." They had 3 hours before the broadcast would be ready. 3 hours to prepare for either their salvation or their spectacular end. Marcus intended to make those 3 hours count. The broadcast equipment was ready. The Velrani military fleet was closing in, at least 20 vessels now, a significant force that indicated how seriously the Council took the threat of Lyra's return. Marcus had set up every defensive measure the salvage rights possessed, but they were vastly outnumbered. "This is your last chance to back out," Marcus said. "Once you broadcast, there's no hiding anymore. I've been hiding for 600 years. I'm done with it." Lyra stood before the camera, composed despite the circumstances. "Begin transmission." Marcus activated the broadcast array, sending Lyra's message across every Velrani communication channel simultaneously: civilian networks, military frequencies, government channels. It would be seen by millions. Lyra spoke, and her voice carried the authority of someone who'd commanded nations. "I am Queen Lyra of the 7th Dynasty. 600 years ago, I was imprisoned by a high council that feared my power and what I represented. They sealed me in stasis and erased me from history, declaring me too dangerous to lead. I was dangerous only because I possessed abilities that others did not: the power to sense truth, to inspire loyalty, to unite my people toward progress rather than stagnation. I did not force obedience. I did not enslave minds. I offered vision and asked for faith, and that terrified those who valued their own control more than our collective future. So they removed me, built their own power structure on the foundation of my absence, and told themselves it was justice. Today, a human freed me. Marcus Webb, a salvager who stumbled across my prison ship, chose to release me from unjust captivity. In doing so, he invoked the right of severance and became my sentinel, bound to protect me by laws older than the current government's legitimacy. The council that rules you now is descended from those who betrayed me. They hunt me not because I am dangerous, but because my existence questions their authority. They want me silenced before you can ask why your queen was hidden instead of honored, imprisoned instead of celebrated. I'm not asking for your loyalty. I'm not demanding your faith. I'm asking you to question the narrative you've been given, to wonder what else your government has hidden, to decide for yourselves whether I was justly removed or wrongly silenced. The choice is yours, as it should have been 600 years ago. The broadcast ended. Marcus cut the transmission and immediately diverted all power to shields. The Velrani fleet had their location now. They'd be coming. "Beautiful speech," Marcus said, monitoring tactical displays. "Hope someone was listening. Either they'll believe me or they won't, but at least I told my truth." Lyra took position at the weapons console. "I may be rusty at ship combat, but I remember the basics. I can provide covering fire. We'll be lucky to last 5 minutes against 20 military vessels. Then we'll make it the most memorable 5 minutes of their careers." The fleet arrived and the battle began. Marcus flew like his life depended on it, because it did, dodging weapons fire, using debris for cover, maximizing every advantage the salvage rights possessed. Lyra handled weapons with the tactical brilliance of someone who'd planned campaigns, targeting critical systems, creating chaos in the enemy formation. But they were outnumbered and outgunned. Shields were failing. Systems were going offline. It was only a matter of time. Then something changed. 3 of the pursuing vessels broke formation. Their targeting systems went dark. They transmitted on open channels. "We support Queen Lyra. We will not fire upon the rightful ruler." Then 5 more vessels. Then 8. Not all. Some remained loyal to the council, but enough that the unified assault fractured into chaos as Velrani ships began fighting each other, some defending the queen they'd just discovered, others trying to complete their mission to eliminate her. "It's working," Lyra breathed. "They're questioning, they're choosing." Marcus took advantage of the chaos to break away from the battle, running hard for neutral space while the Velrani fleet tore itself apart over ideology and loyalty. They were damaged but alive, pursued by fewer vessels now, with actual hope of escape. "Sentinel bond is getting stronger," Marcus said, feeling the connection between them pulse with shared adrenaline and relief. "I can feel what you're feeling. Fear, hope, gratitude, it's all mixed together. I feel the same from you. Determination, defiance, absolute refusal to give up even when logic says we're finished." Lyra smiled despite their circumstances. "That stubbornness kept us alive." They crossed into neutral territory 3 hours later. The pursuing Velrani vessels stopped at the border, unwilling to violate interstellar law by entering space they had no jurisdiction in. Marcus finally allowed himself to believe they might actually survive this. "What now?" he asked, collapsing into the pilot's seat with exhaustion catching up. "Now we rest, repair the ship, decide if we return to Velrani space or build a life elsewhere." Lyra sat beside him. "I have supporters now. You saw them break ranks to defend me. But I also have powerful enemies who won't stop hunting me. Going home means war, either literal or political. And staying away means living as an exile with only my Sentinel for company, not the glorious return a queen might hope for." She turned to face him. "I'm sorry, Marcus. You freed me out of compassion, and it's cost you your peaceful salvager life. You're bound to me now, hunted because of me, your ship destroyed because you chose to protect me. I made that choice knowing the risks. The Sentinel bond didn't force me to help you escape. I did that because it was right." Marcus met her eyes. "And honestly, my peaceful salvager life was pretty boring. This is terrifying and probably going to get me killed, but it's not boring. You're remarkably calm about being bound to a fugitive alien queen. I've had a weird week. Might as well lean into it." He smiled. "Besides, the Sentinel bond has become real for me. Not because ancient law demands it, but because you've proven yourself worth protecting. You're brilliant, fierce, and you've spent 600 years punished for daring to be different. If staying beside you means I'm hunted too, I'll take those odds." Lyra's expression softened into genuine emotion. "I've been alone for so long, sealed away, forgotten, erased from history. Having someone choose to stand beside me, it means more than you know. Then we'll figure this out together. Maybe you go back eventually, reclaim your throne. Maybe we keep running and build something new. Either way, you're not alone anymore." Lyra took his hand, and the Sentinel bond flared with warmth and certainty. "For 600 years, I wondered if anyone would choose me over fear. If anyone would see past the power I possess to the person I tried to be. You answered that question, Marcus Webb, not with words but with action. You freed yourself by not using your powers to force me. You could have influenced my mind, made me worship you, ensured my loyalty through compulsion. Instead, you gave me choice and trusted I'd make the right one. That's what convinced me you were worth freeing." They sat together in the damaged ship, heading toward uncertain future, bound by ancient law and genuine trust. The galaxy wanted them separated. Velrani authorities wanted Lyra silenced. Human governments would question Marcus's allegiance, and enemies on both sides would see their alliance as threat or opportunity. But they'd chosen each other. A human salvager and an alien queen, building partnership from fragments of her history and his courage, proving that sometimes the strongest alliances form not from law or obligation, but from two people choosing to believe in each other when the entire galaxy demands separation. Marcus had found an ownerless spaceship and met an imprisoned queen. He'd freed her, become her sentinel, and survived the chaos that followed. Now they'd figure out what came next, together, as chosen partners rather than master and servant, as equals despite the vast differences in their origins and power. The Sentinel bond was real, but the trust they'd built was stronger, and that was worth any risk.